Hello and welcome to SoBricks. I'm Adam and this is SoBricks. This is my channel for reviewing Lego sets and building them and other Lego related stuff. In this video, I'm going to be taking a look at the first of at least 3 looks at the brand new Lego Creator 3-in-1 Haunted Mansion set. This is set number 31167. It has 736 pieces, and I paid $90 for this set. So a lot of Creator 3-in-1s have a pretty good price per piece ratio. I was actually looking at one recently that was like kind of minifig scale and kind of not. It didn't come with any minifigs, and I was sort of noting that, Creator 3-in-1s sometimes do come with minifigures, sometimes don't. I would say most of the time they don't, but in this case it does. I have to imagine that that's where some of the value is. Otherwise I would have expected this to be $75 or maybe even a little bit less than that. This is right up my alley. I'm super excited to look at it. There are some cool figures that I know I don't have, versions of or anything. The alternate builds look really, really interesting. So I knew I needed to get this. This is one of the releases for August 1st, 2025. Today in this video, we're going to be looking at the main build. So the Haunted Mansion build, then there'll be another video where we look at this sort of ghost train, haunted train, and another one where we look at this ghost ship here. All of them look really, really great. And I'm super excited. I love spooky Lego. I wish there was like more horror themed Lego, but this will do for now, hopefully. I'm excited to see what this has in store for me here. So that's what we're going to do. So in this video, I'm going to open this up. I'm going to put together the main model for this, and then I'm going to share my thoughts on it. So while I build, I will speed the video up, and then I'll slow it back down to review this set. So until then, enjoy. Okay, so while we look at the build for this Lego Creator 3-in-1 Haunted Mansion main build, I just wanted to say thanks for watching. And then remind you, if you like this video, click the thumbs up. If you like my other videos, click the subscribe button. That helps me a lot, means a lot to me. And then I wanted to talk about the build. So we got some figures here to start off. Really excited about those. And then we can start working on kind of a buildable character, which is this sort of living tree or kind of haunted tree here, which is sort of a side build. It does integrate really seamlessly with the rest of the set. And then we also build this sort of separate gate, which I really liked and had some good stuff. And then we can move on to the actual haunted mansion itself here. So we're laying kind of the groundwork. We're hiding some pieces that are going to be important to use on some of the alternate builds and things like that. I'm realizing here that I used kind of that darker tan color instead of the light bluish gray. So I had to correct that. We're building up the walls, the windows, different things. We're going to kind of work on these sections one at a time, then we'll connect them. So this is kind of the first floor of the first section. We'll work on the first floor of the next section, which is sort of the entryway, the main door, stuff like that. And again, I was second guessing some stuff, making a weird mistake. We build some stairs here, which are nice, and we can connect that. So there's a hinge there, and then we can continue working on here, adding the door, adding these interesting kind of pillar areas for the walls, kind of building that up, and we can connect that as well. We're going to continue to work along this way with the third sort of section here that also connects. This one we're actually going to have some stuff kind of added to it that juts out the front and maybe a little bit to the back as well. So we will kind of work on these walls and everything else here. Here we're building actually a little bit of like a clock, like a grandfather clock, or like a standing wooden clock. What else would I call it? One of those clocks, and clock tower type things in a house. We build a little bit of a kind of a graveyard scene out front, which I like, on brand here. And then we can start working on the roof and kind of the second floor. There's not a super convincing second floor, but you can see we are building some details here with some nice brick built stuff that is pretty fun and again thematic and cool. So I did like that, but a lot of the roof is just roof, and there's like the suggestion of a second floor, which doesn't have, a ton of things going on in it. On the other side, sort of the tower area there, that is actually going to have like a little bit more functionality than some of these other ones, which is cool. So we're building the floor there. You can see we put one of those kind of pieces that you use for like a turntable over there. We build out the walls, and we can set up this sort of little build for some other functionality over on this side, which is a nice touch and didn't get spoiled by the build video. We're going to continue kind of building up the walls, and then there's even another kind of next level, which is, I guess, maybe an attic, but it's kind of just the roof, and that will be everything for this main build. And I think I do a pretty good job, a pretty thorough job looking at this in the review, so I hope you enjoy. And now on to my review for this set. Okay, so this is the LEGO Creator 3-in-1 Haunted Mansion set. I really enjoyed this. I think there's a lot here and a lot to look at, and I'm actually really looking forward to the alternate builds for this. But we will just dive right in, and the first thing we will look at is the minifigures, because like I said at the beginning, this is one of those Creator 3-in-1 sets that's minifig scale, does have minifigures, and these are some minifigures that I really wanted, so very happy to get them. And I don't remember the exact order that they are in the bags, but the first one, this one's, you know, pretty standard. This is a skeleton, so just a couple pieces here. The arms are not the exact same, so one kind of has the, I guess, the horizontal grip, and one's got like the vertical grip there. And then we do have like a little lantern here, but it's just white plastic all the way around. The legs are, you know, it's the same. It's a skeleton man that people have seen and have existed for a long time. I think it's really fitting for this. So nice to have that. The next one, I believe, is this sort of werewolf person. And this is great. I know they've done like a werewolf and maybe they've done some of these kind of characters. There was I think it's series 14 of CMFs that I want to get all of. I think that one was kind of like monsters, kind of horror themed. But this one as well is that. And I actually think, you know, I know there's a new Spider-Man in the new CMF that's like a werewolf Spider-Man or something like that. So this stuff has existed. Really cool headpiece. There is no minifigure head underneath here, so it is just that. Printing on this is really good. Actually, the white for the teeth, I think, is done nicely. It's printing on the dark bluish gray, but I think it looks relatively white, even, you know, compared to the bone here. It's not exactly the same, but it's also not as bad as it has been other times, so I don't mind that. Printing for the eyes, the nose there, nothing in the ears or around the ears. Good kind of molded texture for the wolf fur there. They do have a large bone here as an accessory. Looking at the torso, they have kind of a torn open or ripped open kind of plaid flannel there. So exposed arms, kind of tattered things here, exposed kind of chest and abdominal area there. And then they do have printing on the midsection, and they have printing on the legs. Again, kind of like torn, almost like claw marks on, might be denim or something. Look at the back of the torso. We get a little more of that kind of flannel top, and some more marks, rips, and different things there. So I'm really happy to get this. I don't know how many werewolves there have been, but I really wanted one, and I'm excited about any other ones that are out there. The next one we will look at is, well, I think in common parlance, this is referred to as like Frankenstein, but maybe Frankenstein's monster, or it's or, you know, if it's not, I guess Frankenstein might be in the public domain, but they're like kind of the Mary Shelley, but then past that into like, I don't know if it's Lon Chaney or Vincent Price or some of the old like 30s movies, I want to say, kind of Frankenstein, Frankenstein, something like that. So this is really, really great. They have a kind of characteristic sort of long, tall head here. So this is two separate pieces. The hair and everything, I thought maybe this was dual molded, but it might be printing for the hair. Hair texture there is good. We do have the eyebrows kind of on there as well, which are part of that top back of the head here. So this hair I almost thought it was going to be molded, but now I'm starting to think that it's printed, although yeah, I'm not really sure. Kind of a scar across the head. Skin tone is, I think, kind of grayish green sort of thing here. If we look underneath that, we can see they still have kind of the bushy eyebrows there, but it's just a little bit different. One of the teeth standing up. There's not, I think, the stereotypical kind of like bolts through the neck or something like that. But, you know, that's only in certain interpretations of the character. And I think the Guillermo del Toro one is coming out at some point, but there have been a lot of different adaptations and different versions of this kind of thing. But sort of the mad scientist creates a approximate human type being from different parts, and in the book that then character sort of encounters things. I really like that book. I don't always like the movies, but I really wanted this character. Happy to get this. Looking at the torso, they are wearing kind of a suit, almost like a sport coat or a suit. They do have like some stitches up there, and some like stitches are kind of tattered, kind of fixed or repaired sort of seams on the shirt as well. So we get that, and I think that's good. You know, no printing on the midsection, no printing on the legs, no printing on the arms. Not a huge deal. Like a little extra detail would always be appreciated. I think they probably either could, you know, print on the side if they wanted to do the like bolts kind of in the neck. I also think they could probably do like a piece that goes between the minifigure head and a neck that could put those there. And yeah, I'm sure that, yeah, I mean, they probably could do something like that, or they could just make a whole kind of new molded head, or something if they so chose. But very happy to get this. The next one, this one, I'm pretty thrilled about. This is a ghost. It's kind of a classic, like sheet over a person ghost, and the figure here is just a white torso, everything, no printing on it at all, and then a black minifigure head here, no printing on that at all, and then we can put that in the kind of sheet type thing here. This is, I don't know if it's the exact same, but this is like a really classic piece. All of these feel very like Monster Fighters as well, which I believe there was a werewolf in the Monster Fighters line and theme of toys from a little while ago. This actually is glow in the dark, so that is really cool. I don't know, you know, it's not crazy dark yet, but as of recording this, and it's probably pretty hard to capture on camera. I don't know. I noticed that it was glow in the dark and I didn't know that. Maybe it says it somewhere on the box or something. So I was really pleased with that. Happy to see that. And this feels really nice. It's kind of a different texture than the old ones I'm really used to. So very happy about that. It's got a nice like subtle glow. If you've seen Lego glow in the dark stuff, it's not like terribly bright or anything like that, but it's a subtle kind of spectral glow that I appreciate. And then the next one here is a like a vampire, a wampir, or however it is from from the new Nosferatu, but this one's like a female coded or like femme presenting here. Really, really like this hairpiece. I'm not sure if I've seen it before, but it's sort of, whoopsies, got the look of like flowing in the wind or something. The face has some good detail here, kind of the red eyes, and as well as the makeup. The fangs in there are nice, skin very pale. This one does have an alternate face, so if we are looking at at that. This is kind of a more congenial looking thing, and this one's a little more spooky here. Looking at the torso, this is really good. It's kind of got like a dress, sort of corseted looking dress there. The back of the torso has some really good detail in that. I think it's really nice. I think the colors are well chosen. And I think the production work is quite good because it is this sort of dark brownish, reddish, whatever, I believe. And the printing on there is actually pretty good. Again, I'm pretty happy with the printing kind of around the collar area there, which I believe is supposed to be flesh tone, kind of above the chest, but then there's like a necklace or something there. And I think they did a pretty good job there. I've seen a lot worse, especially printing on like a red or something like that. So that's really great. This one doesn't have a midsection because it is on a skirt piece. We get kind of a bat looking thing here, kind of where like, we get the cinched waist and then just below that, or it's kind of the proportions are weird on the minifigure, but then we get some nice kind of flowy details down here. I really like that. I really wish they would have printed on the back of these. They've shown many times that they're capable of doing that and doing it well. That really adds a lot to this. So like continuing some of this dress pattern down there, or even if not that, like a little bit of some of the other kind of flowing textural details would have gone a long way. But this is a great figure as well. So super happy with those 5 figures. I mean, the skeleton works really, really great. It is not, they're somewhat common. I wouldn't be like, if it was just that, wouldn't be like super thrilled. I think this one is really cool. I don't know if that torso or skirt piece are new or if they were used, or if any of these things maybe were in Monster Fighters and are kind of coming back for this, or I don't know what else, if any of these are new. Just off the top of my head, I'm not 100% sure, but if they are, that's kind of crazy. If they're not, I'm still like happy to see them come back here. So I am really happy with that. I think the ghost is great. I know in Monster Fighters there was a mummy, I want to say, like in like the Mummy movies or the newer ones. But it was a kind of classic like toilet paper sheets looking mummy. And then for the monster CMF they had 12 or 14 or something of different stuff, so there was like more going on there. I think this is a really solid kind of lineup for a set like this, 5 figures, and they are really, really cool. Well done. I'm happy with them. And then I wanted to talk about the build. So this is the main build here. And the first thing you build is this gate. So this is separate, but it's nice. It's super simple, just on a like 4x10 or 12 here, I think. And it's got some very basic kind of masonry, stonework, kind of crumbling looking things tiled out back here. Has a couple clips in the kind of posts or the pillars there. These gates can open. Got a little maybe dead plant life over there. And then we have the printed kind of lock or keyhole piece and the kind of chain element, which is nice. So you could, I have these just on the same door. You could move them so they're on 2 of the doors, which would then at least, they can't open like outward. You could kind of open them that way, but you're still pretty limited in it. So you can kind of do a convincing sort of locking this up, or could have characters, unlocking it or removing the chain to sort of get past this. There isn't any way to really connect this to the rest of the build, but that's okay. I think it adds a little more depth to some of this potentially, and a little more like interactivity there. So I think that's a fine inclusion. And I think there's some, I'm hoping, but I feel like there are some nice uses of some of the pieces in here, particularly the like gate pieces in the alternate builds. So if they really wanted to get the gate pieces in here, maybe they knew those were going to be here and that's why they got used in the alternate. Either way, I mean, makes sense for these to be here for those reasons. I hope that they're used in the alternate builds. I'm not 100% certain they will be, but I have a feeling they are based on looking at this. And then the rest of it is this haunted mansion. You know, when I think of the haunted mansion, I think of the movie and the ride and sort of the property. And I understand that those words are like, I don't know if there's anybody has a specific kind of legal ownership of those words put together, because they are just, you know, a very basic adjective and noun. But I feel like this is maybe more in my head like a, I guess, haunted house, which has there's a different feeling to it. So, but there are elements of this that feel sort of mansion-esque. So I'm excited to dive into this. And this is built in essentially 3 core sections. Well, first we build this tree up front, which has a face in it. Reminds me of the one from there's a Scooby-Doo Mystery Machine set. There was also some Hidden Side stuff that had things like this. I think this is nicely designed, pretty small footprint there, but overall good. And you know, the eyes are printed, and we get a little bit of the teeth in there, which is very cool. So happy to see that. You build that right away, and then you start building, and we use 3 of these octagonal kind of plates that are, I want to say 10 by 10 or 2, 4, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, I think. So at their longest. And these are an interesting choice. You know, this easily could have been made on a half of base plate or just a different assembly of bigger rectangular plates or something. But I actually really like this choice and what it allows for us to do. And we start by building this side over here, which, you know, kind of has the tower area there. And then we move on to the lower section of kind of the middle, and then over here what's on the left. I will get it out of the way just for the sake of talking about this and handling this. There is kind of a feature function type thing here, and that is that this is hinged. This can open and close, which is really, really cool. So if you can see there, I can close that up. We can close up this other side. And then I loved seeing how these pieces come together really, really nicely. The connection at the rear here from the 2 sides is one of those like ratchet joint pieces, and then just a clip piece going into that. So it's not like a super strong connection, but it's also like very easy to overcome to undo it. And what that does here is it gives us a little more depth, and it also like makes this not an open back kind of thing. And I know, like, I don't love when I see open back sets, but some sets it makes sense for either, you know, cost, you know, making sure that they aren't prohibitively expensive and too many pieces, but also like from a design perspective, and then from a play perspective, from a display perspective, there's certainly arguments in my mind to be made for making things kind of open back. But I also do appreciate something like this, which sort of crosses that line. You know, this doesn't have an internal, like a modular building. So when we are closed up like this, we can't like take off these sections to get access to it. And frankly, when it's closed up like this, there's not a ton of room in here. You know, we're really only talking about kind of half of the first base plate to about here. So we don't have a ton of depth to work with, but this is still really nice, and I think it looks great like this. Just for the purpose of like handling this, I might keep it like this for a minute. So as I was saying, we start over here. I made a mistake early on building this where I started with kind of this kind of darker tan color instead of the light bluish gray down there. We have different stuff, different masonry bricks used for the lower level, then kind of that layer of the dark bluish gray in there. And then I really liked the choice to use a bunch of these masonry bricks, but without the kind of brick sides there. So this kind of thing is all going inside. And on the outside, we just see the horizontal lines. I think it's a pretty simple technique, but it feels almost like wooden siding in a really good way, which I think works really, really well for this, especially if it's supposed to be kind of a mansion, which I'll cover more. We do use these nice kind of corner pieces there. All of the windows are quite good with these little half kind of pyramid pieces over them. And around the back, we have kind of a room sort of jutting out here, which is actually sort of on the side, but is also kind of on the back when I'm holding it like this. So that is this sort of first section there. And then you build this sort of like you're building the ground layer, and you move over and then kind of do the top layers and do some of the other internal details here. But then we go kind of to this center area here. And I think, with the mansion aspect of this, maybe it's more pronounced when it's open. And I can turn it back that way, where you kind of have different wings, you kind of have that tower looking thing there, windows going different ways, but you do have this like patio or porch with these columns out front and kind of columns up there, as well as having the kind of railing with the sort of ornamental baluster type pieces there. And when we see it like this, you still get that impression a little bit, but it's maybe not as obvious. But we have kind of the doorway here. This is interesting. We build up the kind of steps here with tiles and plates, but the initial step up from like if this was sitting on a surface here is 3 plates, which is the equivalent of a brick. So it's a pretty big step up. It doesn't really like look too crazy when it's all sat down, but it's just a big difference between like this first step and then having only a tile be the next one and like a tile being the next one. There are no studs on here, so we can't like place figures on there, although some of these pieces that are used, like this one is the 2x2 with 2 studs on the top and then kind of a tile area on the other. So if you rotated that 180 degrees, so the studs were out here, you could put someone right there. But up on the patio, we do have some space, not a ton, 2 or 3 studs depth there, which is pretty tight for minifigures to get in, but that's okay. Again, we do the same thing with the kind of masonry bricks, where we're using what I call like maybe the back of the masonry bricks, but I like to think that they don't have really a back or front. There's just the one side where you see kind of these vertical grooves for the grout, and then like these ones where you only see the horizontal, and those are just reversed from each other. I really like, again, how we've done some of these windows, door frames, different things like that. We can open the door in there, and you can kind of see that there's not a lot of light in there. Very little light gets in this generally when it's closed up, especially. And then moving on to the other side, for this one, we actually extend out a little bit with a 6x6 here, and that becomes a little graveyard there. I think this is nicely done. It's very, very small. Good stuff here using like the hinge plate and then just a Nexonite tile piece between studs, which is a legal building technique and is nice. And then we have the different things here. We also have the skeleton foot right there, but I also like that it almost looks as if it's a hand coming out of the dirt, even though it is a leg piece with a foot. It also looks, because minifigure hands are just kind of like clips and different things, it almost looks like there's something reaching out from the earth there, which I super appreciate. I like the effect of that. Pretty basic building around there. Also get a little pumpkin, which feels appropriate. And then we have kind of the continuation of the same kind of design motifs here with the same kind of color scheme and using those horizontal slats for the siding. We do get several of these printed tiles, the 1x4 that are kind of the wooden boards with the nails in them. So you get a few of those going over some windows and different stuff like that. And that's kind of everything over on this side. Like moving up to the next floor, it is just the next floor, and there's not a way inside or outside that, you know, connects these floors or anything. So it's just, you know, imagination and different stuff. Pretty similar. A lot of the shapes are the same, but we do, you know, I think the roof is done nicely. When it's closed up like this, I actually don't like this kind of area here. I realistically the porch might kind of come out here and make that, and then the roof would also do that. If it really existed, I could also see it exist like this. I don't really know. It doesn't bother me too much. This one, when it's closed up, looks fine. And then when we look at it from the back, I mean, when this is closed up, it still looks like a really nice kind of building here. This feels like a side of a Lego structure that, you know, could or is intended to be viewed. And so in some ways this has like no camera unfriendly angles, but there are some other kind of functions and features in here and different kind of details on the inside that we can move on to in a moment. We got some area up here, and then of course the bat kind of on the spire there. And that's most of the outside. In terms of building techniques, I don't know if there was anything like too crazy, but I really, really like how this looks like this and how it looks when it is folded up. So that is pretty great. And then looking at the back or looking at the top, you can actually see here this area is open, almost like it's like a 2x4 space in there. And I don't know if there's actually supposed to be anything or any kind of function or play feature utilizing that, but there are some other ones inside. And one of the other things I wanted to note is that there are no stickers in this set, which is terrific or terrorific to see, which means that obviously the clock face, that's a pretty common piece. They make a lot of those, but this sort of picture, which looks like a sort of silhouette at night of this house, perhaps, and different kind of cloudy thing there, that is printed. And then this tile, which has sort of the femme presenting vampire countess person here, printed on it as well. The details on that are good. The colors are nice. They have a sort of a goblet or like a Lego glass that has some fluid in it, that they are holding in that, which is really great. I love these over here, these little details. They are like a looks like a patrolman's cap or like a train conductor or engineer kind of cap over there, and then also a pirate cap down there, and they're just on white like cone pieces. I feel like I've seen similar stuff like that, like in the Natural History Museum. There was sort of a reference to themes past. In this case, I think they're sort of just displayed, but then they will be used as minifigure accessories in the alternate builds, I am thinking. And I think it's really nice to have them here. It's almost, it reminds me of like the Haunted Mansion ride, where maybe you would see, you know, just heads talking, or these are kind of like I could see like ghost heads being underneath there. There's sort of just a little alcove back here. You could put a figure in there. It's a little bit hard to access, so when I set this down, I can get in there. It's a little bit tough. And then yeah, we build this nice, I guess I call them like a grandfather clock, but this nice kind of standing clock here. It's really, really simple, but we do have a little detail where we can move the bells. Are these bells, or what are these called on a clock? I know they might be called something, but we can move that. That is just, there's a Technic piece going through there, and you can move that from outside, which is, you know, I think it's ultimately, it just goes like this back and forth. Feels kind of nice. I don't know how fun of a play thing that is. I don't believe there's a way to like spin it all the way around as if like the clock was going spooky and things started getting out of whack. But maybe when it's ringing or moving at a not the appropriate time, it kind of makes sense there. And we do have a little bit of area of the entrance here, so we can open the door and kind of see through. And then up on the next floor, again, because this closes up and it opens up, there's just not a ton of space here, and it's not a huge set. It's not like the haunted house that was Ideas or Icon set, which I still haven't looked at, would really like to look at. But that one, was like maybe a $200, $300 set or something that's like way, way, way bigger. I like that we can see the brick kind of on the inside here. It feels like it makes sense to me. Up on this level, we don't really have much, but you could, I guess, put a figure there and maybe you could see them through the windows. Over on this side, we have kind of a bureau with some drawers. And then we have this in the back, which is kind of like a table. It's really hard to see, but there is a crystal piece in there, kind of back in there. If I turn up the light, it's going to be hard to get it in there, but there's kind of a little build with one of those crystal pieces, and that has a little function as well. So we can move this and look at that. That looks to be like a Pac-Man style ghost, almost like it's saying boo or something. And it uses some splat gears there. So it's another thing that we actuate from outside. And it's cool because, when we're looking at this from the front, if we look, one way like this, it's hard to see in there. But if we had like really good light coming through maybe this window over here, we could see the crystal in the window, and then you can flip that and we see the eyes, and you can also kind of make the eyes move as if they are like following somebody or something like that. And it's like you can do it super quick, so there's something in the window there, and then other characters look and there's nothing, and back to that. So I think that's really nice, satisfying. It only works one way. It doesn't just continuously spin back and forth, so it's got some natural kind of stops in there. But I think that's good as well to add some more like character to this, which already has a ton of character, has the defined characters in the minifigures. But then we have something like the tree, something like this up here, which makes the house feel even more occupied and haunted, which I think is nice, good choice. Fun little thing there. One of these tree elements popped off. And then the last kind of thing at the back is this area up here, which is like sort of maybe a balcony or something like that. We got the nice kind of candlesticks going up there, pretty basic. And then we have this, which I believe is intended to be a organ or of some kind. So an organ as in like a piano with like big, I don't know if they're called bells or what the kind of tubes of an organ are actually referred to as. And I really like this. Super economical, cute, and a good idea, and makes sense for like the mansion element of this. It feels kind of like Phantom of the Opera. It feels very like classic kind of spooky horror stuff. And I think it really fits there. We can have a character sit there, and we use the kind of red piece there, and there's another little like red, almost as if it's like velvet for the bench or something like that. That's what I imagine it as. And then we use just some tiles here to look like keys, and the sort of look of the like black keys or the ebonies and ivories in here, the white keys and the black keys there, work really, really well, even though this is, small, and we only get, and it's, it's almost like a full octave or whatever, but it's not quite. But I think that's recognizable as like piano keys or keyboard keys there, which I really like. And then, yeah, we have kind of the columns or the pillars going up, which are where sort of the sound bellows out. And then above that, we have, I don't know if it's really a chimney or something like that, but it almost feels like it's supposed to be, it is open. I don't know if there's like a real kind of function for that. If I check the box, I'm not seeing anything that is immediately calling that out. So I don't really know there, but potentially it lets a little bit of extra light get in there such that, if this is closed up, I think we can still kind of see the sort of horns or bellows or whatever they are for an organ in there. So we can see that. I don't know how much the light up here like has to do with that, but it is something to consider. You can kind of see down in there. You theoretically could put a Santa Claus or some of these other characters through there, and there's probably not a good way to imagine them coming out of there, but there's options. And then when it's open like this, you can see that this back side, comes to a like it's flat on the back, such that this could lean up against the a wall, or like if it's on a bookshelf or something, and be fine. If you close it up this way, you have that as well. It's not going to be like flush against the wall. You just have the plates down there, but that really, really works. But also, if you open it up, you can have it like, flat against a wall, which is really, really good. And you can have it sort of flat on the desk here, in my case, which makes looking at it from this angle quite nice, in my opinion, and looking at it when it's closed up like that, quite nice, and looking at it like this, quite nice. We have sort of the suggestion of rooms. I think ultimately, it's pretty hard to play in this space for someone like me. There's just not a ton of room, not a ton of access. But given the like size of the set, certain constraints, I think they've done enough here that it's sort of the best of both worlds. And I think a lot of that, plays into wanting to close it up. I think, this just isn't a possibility for other sets all the time, not all open back sets, but any set. It's just there's sort of compromises that have to be made in designing about access and techniques and play and display and all this different stuff. And in many instances, it might make sense to have more areas to populate the structure with characters or with other stuff that might encourage play. But I think this kind of finds a happy medium. It just really, really works for me. And you can kind of see there's like a little bit of light coming in here as well, but maybe it's hard to see with my light setup right now. But I think this is really fun. I knew I wanted to get this, super excited about them doing this. I've long said that, spooky Lego, there should be more of it. So, Hidden Side, Monster Fighters, stuff like this, Halloween theme sets generally, even Scooby-Doo or whatever, if they can. I think that would be great for someone like me. That would really work. And then that's everything that's in this set. I will show the extra pieces because you do get a fair amount. These are all your 1x1s, your studs, your tiles, your kind of botanical branches or roots or stem pieces. Eye print there, different eye print there. Get an extra of the kind of 1x2 rounded tile, which is great, extra for the gem piece, and some other piece that I just dropped, about what you would expect from this size of set using, just any of the little 1x1 pieces. And this set is 736 pieces, 5 minifigures, and it retails for $90. So As I said at the beginning, I kind of feel like Creator 3-in-1s, especially like the animal, buildable animals, brick built animal Creator 3-in-1s, like something like that Panda set, which I think is like a $40 set, but it's got like 640 pieces. And so like this is maybe double the price of that at least, and has only 100 more pieces. And how do we make sense of that? How does that work for us? And one of the things to consider, certainly, is the minifigures. Now, whether or not these are reused molds, reused prints, torsos, legs, different stuff like that, you know, they're still like value. And I don't know if it's $20 of value or if it's more than that or less than that. I mean, I like to value figures sort of for, if the standard is like $5 a fig or something like that, and then we just move based on that sort of number. You know, the skeleton might not be that much, but some of these other ones might be more than that. And that's sort of how we look at this. You know, I have to say this is probably 20-ish, 15, 20, $25 worth of figures in this set. And for me, they were figures that I really, really, really wanted, which, you know, I maybe value these more than the market value of these is. It just makes sense to me that it's fair to consider those in the value. And then we get this like relatively sizable thing, 2-story building. It's not fully enclosed. It kind of is. There is a lot of pieces in this, a lot of masonry bricks, which is nice. And the build was like pretty good. I mean, they didn't do like go all out with, you know, the amount of details, but I also have to consider that there are prints in this, no stickers in this, which we say, okay, well, there would have only been maybe 2 stickers in it. I easily could have seen them do like stickers on these gravestones or headstones or footstones or whatever there. I could have seen stickers on the window panes to make them look like cracked or like that something's hiding in there, or make them, I don't know, there's a lot of different things. And we don't have that. So while those details, I guess, could be really nice, I really like it like this. Something about building a set without stickers is just it's like refreshing because I'm so used to them. I don't mind stickers technically, but if they can be avoided, you know, and they're willing to do that, I appreciated it. And in this instance, I was really, really surprised to see these two, which I think are really great. So very nice job here. So speaking of the value, you know, is this building itself a $70 build? If it was like a Creator 3-in-1 without figures, is it a $60 build? You know, I actually think that's kind of a hard sell. When I think about like the Cozy House set, which was a Creator 3-in-1, I think that had figures, but not like cool ones like this. And that set, I want to say, was in the $60 mark MSRP, and maybe had, I think that one had kind of a lot of pieces. I want to say it had maybe like 800 pieces or something like that. So that's like, it could have been a bigger set or more pieces and a cheaper set. That one, I want to say the Cozy House had kind of a way of opening up and closing as well, but I don't remember that set super clearly. So I don't know about that, but there maybe are like other approximates here. For me, this building, if it was in some other theme or something, this amount of stuff, I don't think is up at that $60, $70 mark. I would maybe want to say 50. And even then I'm kind of like, suspect. I'm not 100% sure. When we add in the figures, you know, I'm a little bit struggling to get to the $90 mark, and I maybe would have wanted like a little bit more to cross it over, and no pun intended, I suppose, but I maybe would have wanted, you know, a little more space in the back, in the front. I maybe would have wanted another figure, like I think a mummy would have been really cool, and kind of a sarcophagus. I know for Monster Fighters there was like a zombie figure as well, and they've done different stuff like that. If there was 2 more figures in here, they might not be like a lot of spaces for them to be, but that would get me closer to feeling like, okay, well, this is really good. I already do think the character selection for the figures is good. Maybe it's more side builds like this. I'm not 100% sure, but I think there is room for just a touch more. Maybe I'm being greedy. I felt that $90 was like a little bit steep for this, and after building it, I still think that's kind of true. This stuff over here, remove these figures, I don't think we're at the $60 or $70 mark. And so then when you add the figures, I might want this entire set to be $70, $75, or $65, frankly. But if it was 75, which is kind of on the higher end of what I would think is like appropriate, then we're like the price and piece ratio would be good, and it would feel a little more consistent with like what I have in front of me, and then comparing it to like other sets and other toys and different things, it would like be a little bit more in line with what I would expect. That said, this set is not only this build. And so one of the things I do in Creator 3-in-1s is like, because I place most of the time the most amount of value on like display and like building, like the build process and everything like that. In this instance, because it's like catered sort of more towards my tastes and aesthetic that I enjoy, and kind of like horror movies and stuff like that, there's like an extra sort of level to this. But then the alternate builds, I'm like incredibly excited for. So we have kind of a ghost train build here. I'm really looking forward to this. I know there's no like wheel pieces in here, but whatever they're able to do to kind of approximate that, I'm really looking forward to seeing. And then the last one is a kind of ghost ship or boat here. And again, I'm really looking forward to this. So I don't know which one uses the most pieces between these, but these are really, really great. Hopefully the builds are fun and inspiring and surprising and, playful and imaginative. I think they will be, but I'll sort of have a better sense of the value of this set after I look at those. But, off the like just how I'm feeling right now after just having built this and having this in front of me and sort of going through it, I'm thinking that it's a little bit overpriced, which is a bummer for something that like I love so much and that I knew that I wanted. But maybe by the end of it, I will say, this is the best value set they'll release all year. I, at this point, am struggling to see that as likely, but I'm open to the possibility. And so I think that's it for this one. So great. If you like this video, please click the thumbs up and give it a like. If you like my other videos, click the subscribe button down below so you can stay up to date on all the LEGO videos I'll be doing here in the future, including the alternate builds for this. There'll be a video for the train and a video for the ship. And then there's tons of other videos from all different themes, all different shapes, size, price point, piece count, big sets, small sets, retired sets, new sets, tons of new sets that came out August 1st, 2025, and a bunch of other stuff. I have a big backlog and a lot of videos in the works. So if you're interested in my take on those, please consider, subscribing, and I appreciate it. If you wanted to support the channel in a different way, you can give money to the channel. I buy these with my own money. I did not get this sent to me. I'm not affiliated with any company or anything like that. I'm not part of the LEGO Ambassador Network. So if you want to give back because you enjoy my videos or anything like that for whatever reason, I don't know what your reasons are, but if you had one, you can do that here on YouTube with membership, supers, and thanks. There's a Patreon. It's linked in the video description, linked on my channel page, patreon.com/SoBricks. And then there's a buy me a coffee link. There'll be some affiliate links. There'll probably be an affiliate link to buy this set. If you click on one of those affiliate links, you can either click on the one to get this or one to that just goes to a major online retailer searching for like Legos. So you can look at other building toys or like brick-based building system sets from other manufacturers. But also if you're just trying to get like a wireless mouse or a can koozie or a box of envelopes, if you use one of those links and then search for that thing, I still might get a small percentage of that sale. So it's no additional cost to you, but it does go to me and it adds up, and every little bit helps. So thank you very much. Maybe consider checking those things out. I appreciate it. And with all of that said, until next time, thanks. Bye.